My name is Tom Rand, and I'm managing partner of Arcturn Ventures. Arcturn is a privately backed venture fund partnered with Mars Cleantech. Mars Cleantech is one of the world's largest and most effective clean energy technology innovation hubs. It's here that we source, fund, and build next generation clean energy technology companies. By that I mean to say we don't invest in solar farms, we would invest in the technology that would go into next generation solar farms. Our companies have deep IP, global markets, and they can compete head to head with fossil fuels without subsidies at scale today. What we're really driven by is the idea that we need to eliminate hydrocarbons over the long term from our energy cycle, along with their associated greenhouse gas emissions. And the companies we invest in are capable of disrupting those traditional energy flows. Let me give you some examples to bring it to life. There's a lot of solar going up around the world today, which is a great thing, but most of that solar technology was invented decades ago. There hasn't really been a new disruptive solar technology in the market for quite a while. We've invested in Morgan Solar. Morgan Solar is almost as an optical company, and they've figured out ways to take an enormous amount of sunlight and drop it onto a very small but very efficient solar chip, ultimately reducing significantly the costs of those solar panels. They can produce solar energy as low as 3.5 cents a kilowatt hour, which is cheaper than coal. Our co-investors are Iberdrola, Enbridge, Kuwaiti Investment Authority. So that's one way in which we can ensure that clean energy technology will continue to follow a cost curve down. Next generation clean energy technology companies will now get fed into a large global market of solar energy. One of the limitations on renewables, though, is that they're intermittent. So anybody who can crack grid scale, low cost energy storage, I think brings the kind of holy grail to the clean tech sector. And our bet on energy storage is a little company called Hydrostore. Hydrostore stores energy in the form of compressed air, which is fairly well known, but they can do it very cheaply because they can store it on the bottom of the ocean or bottom of lakes. It's called underwater compressed air energy storage, and they just launched their first commercial scale operating system with Toronto Hydro right here in Canada. Another example would be liquid fuels, transportation fuels. Woodland Biofuels is our bet on next generation biofuels. They can make cellulosic ethanol, which is a gasoline replacement that comes from non-food sources, agricultural waste, forestry waste, and so on. And they can make that ethanol to displace gasoline cheaper than the gasoline it displaces. In other words, they're going to demonstrate the ability that a biofuel producer can be the lowest cost liquid fuel producer in North America. We've demonstrated this to be true at our large scale plant in Sarnia, and now we're looking to scale up with 9 to 12 commercial plants around the globe. There are other technology companies we've invested in that help enable this transition, sensors, power electronics, and so on, things that underpin what we call the smart grid, that enable that grid to be responsive and driven by renewable energy technology. Again, ultimately, driving out the waste streams associated with hydrocarbons. And we know we have to do that because we're headed for a very warm place if we don't. The Arctic tern is a very small but mighty Canadian bird that can circumnavigate the globe on very few resources. Arcturn is a small fund, but we are aggressive. We have invested in, we believe, technology companies that have the capacity, now that they're scaling up and entering global markets, to significantly change the way the world uses and moves energy.